Let's start working on nominative case. Именительный падеж in Russian language. It answers questions кто, что, who and what. So basically if we meet a noun in a sentence and it answers the question who or what, кто, что, it means it is in a nominative case. It is also the case in which we find words, the nouns, in the dictionary. So basically everything what we've learned so far was in the nominative case. Right now we need to review a few things, because for structured learning of cases we will need to have also structured way of approaching things. Basically what we will need to review for nominative case is how to establish the plural, because for every case it will be an important and challenging topic how to establish the plural in a particular case for a noun. And because of this we will need to start with nominative case, the dictionary form case. What will be different from what we've learned so far about establishing the plural? We will divide nouns in two groups: the living things and not living things. So basically not living things, the objects, and the living things, everything what is alive or might be alive. For living things we will have only two genders, masculine and feminine. For not living we will have additional gender, the neutral. It is not really obvious in some languages. Also living things got neutral gender. In Russian they need to have either masculine or feminine. So, and for you to know, don't get concentrated too much on the rules, too much on the tables I will give you. I would rather prefer you to study, to learn, to memorize examples and to make as many exercises as possible, because that's what actually teaches you how to create a plural or how to use a rule. In Russian language there are so many exceptions that sometimes there are more exceptions, or at least as many exceptions as the real words which are following some rule. So let's start. First things, we will have singular and plural. And first let's start with masculine. First word should be stol. Stol is table, and the plural would be stoly. Stoly. We got no ending, and the ending becomes y. Stol, stoly. Table. Словарь. Словарь. Write it with me and try to repeat it after you watch this lesson. Try to structurize it in your head again. Try to understand why словарь is masculine, why stol is masculine, what is happening with the ending. Словарь becomes словари in the plural. Словари. Словарь, словари. Ending и instead of soft sign. Музей, museum. Музей. And the plural музеи. Музеи. Музей, музеи. Again, ending и instead of и. Now what you need to understand from this: if you meet a word, a masculine word which is obviously not alive and it ends in e, change the ending e to e. It is a pattern. It is not a rule, it is not a set up rule, and there are quite few things which will be special for masculine and won't follow any of these patterns. However, if you meet a masculine word ending in soft sign and you replace soft sign with e, it will become a plural. Or if it won't be right, the Russians will understand you, because this pattern exists also in Russian heads. Even though we make it automatically, intuitively, we understand the pattern, and we will straight away understand that you want to speak about the plural of a word. Stol, stoly. Well, stol you add with y. So if there is no soft sign or e in the end of the masculine word, just add an y. Stoly. However, let's look also on exceptions. A masculine word, address. The address. Address. And the plural would be adresa. Sa. What happened here? Address becomes adresa, ending a in the plural. You might even think, well, it is a feminine word because it ends in a. It have to be feminine. No, it is masculine. The singular of address, of the masculine word, becomes adresa in plural, and adresa is also masculine. On top of this, what happens with address adresa? The emphasis from the first a goes to the last a. So address, adresa, address, adresa. Can you remember this, or can you understand how to do this? No, you cannot. There is no rule for this. You have to know this. If you pronounce it wrong, let's say address, adresa, fine, people will understand you. The emphasis is not that important on this particular word. And another example would be город, city, город, and the plural would be города, города. Again, first the emphasis from the first o is falls on the last a, город, города, and город in plural, the city, gets the ending a, which might make you think that it is a feminine word. However, the plural of the masculine word is also masculine, город, города. There are quite few exceptions like this. Let's work on feminine. Lampa is lamp. Lampa. Lampa is lamp. Ends in a, it is feminine. And it is not a life, it is a lamp. The plural would be lampy. Lampy. A changes to y. Lampa, lampy. Another example for this would be газета, газеты. Газета is a newspaper. Газеты. Газета, газеты. Lampa, lampy. And this is actually what I'm telling you. Try to recognize the pattern. So, lampa, lampy, газета, газеты. So, if you got feminine word, not alive, ends in a, let's change a with y, because we know this pattern. Статья. Статья is article. Статья. Статья ends in ya, and in plural it becomes статьи. 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 Ending и. Лампа, лампы, ending y. Лампа, лампы, статья, статьи. Скамья. Скамья is a chair, a bench. Скамьи. Again, we can use this pattern for the new word. So you learn a new word, which is feminine, and you need a plural of this. You can use this pattern, and more or less you will have right plural. Тетрадь. Тетрадь is a notebook. Тетрадь, notebook. And the plural тетради. Тетради, ending e. The soft sign is replaced with e. In general, soft sign is replaced with e also in masculine. Словарь, словари. Тетрадь, тетради. Словарь, словари, тетрадь, тетради. So this pattern is not only following just special gender and special table for living things and not living things. If you see a certain pattern, try to create and connect the examples in your head together so you can use them. So work on examples, work on exercises. Тетрадь, тетради. And let's work on neutral. For neutral, окно, окно, and plural would be окна, окна, окно, окна. The ending a. Can you hear what happens here? Окно is emphasized on the last o. Окно. And because first o is not emphasized, it is pronounced as a. Окно. But In the plural, the first O is emphasized. And because of this, we pronounce it as O. Окно, окна, окно, окна. However, if you pronounce this, if you don't know where to emphasize which letter, and if you need to emphasize the first one or not, let's assume you pronounce this окно, окна, окно, окна. There is a small nuance, but it absolutely does not change any meaning of this word, and everybody will understand you. Окно, окна. And if you got any doubts if O is emphasized or not, and if you should pronounce this A, use O. Окно. Another example for this, if you would use this pattern, for example, дело, дела, письмо, письма. Дело is a neutral word, is business, and because it ends in O, it is neutral, it is not alive. We change O in A. Дело, дела. Письмо, письмо is letter, письмо. Письмо ends in O, neutral, not alive. Let's change O for A. We will use this pattern. Письмо, письма, letter, letters. Дело, дела, business, businesses. Письмо, письма. Letter, letters. Окно, окна. Письмо, письма. Дело, дела. Море is sea. Море. Море is sea, and the plural would be моря. Моря. Море, моря. Ending я. And здание. 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 Здания. Здание. Здания. So much to learn, so many different examples. They are so different. It is very difficult, and well, you have to go through this. You have to watch the lessons, you have to exercise, and you have to create these patterns in your head, because it is the only thing which is important. Let's say you are coming across a word упражнение, exercise. Упражнение. Упражнение, it is ending in ye, meaning it's neutral. The ending is ие. I will write it for you. Упражнение. Упражнение. Упражнение, exercise. Здание is building. Здание, здания. Building, buildings. Упражнение ends in ye, meaning it is neutral. Ends actually in nije. Здание ends in nije. There is a pattern, and most likely the plural would be ия or ния. Упражнение becomes упражнения. We're using the last pattern. Упражнения. So we use this pattern and we got упражнение, упражнение. Now I'm disappearing from the monitor and I will give you the patterns for living things. Again, we will have singular and plural. And again, masculine. For masculine, let's take преподаватель. Преподаватель is teacher. Преподаватель. Преподаватель, teacher. And the plural would be преподаватели. Преподаватели. Преподаватель, преподаватели. The ending changed to e. How should you remember this? Тетрадь, тетради ends in soft sign, changes to e. It is kind of pattern. We got soft sign here, it changes to e. You should pay attention for these things. However, there will be a lot of words which ends in tel or yel. Then you should notice for yourself, well, if it ends in yel or tel, it ends in soft sign, we should remove soft sign and replace it with e. преподаватель, преподаватели. Personal name. Сергей. Сергей. And the plural of Sergey will be Sergei. 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 And let's assume you will come across the name Andrei. What would be the plural of Andrei? Andrei. Sergei. Andrei. And for feminine, let's work. Сестра. Сестра means sister. Сестра. Сестра. Sister. The plural would be сестры. Сестры. Сестра, сестры. Сестра, the emphasis falls on a, however, in the plural on yo. Again, we got a floating emphasis. Suddenly, the emphasis changes its place. However, if you do not know where to put emphasis and you put it on the wrong place, most likely it won't change any meaning within the word. And the example would be, let's assume you want to use this pattern. You will come across a new word, жена. Жена is wife. Жена. Жена. Feminine word, жена means wife. It is a living thing, so it is human. Ends in a. Let's use the pattern of сестра, sister. Жена, сестра. And we will get жены. Жены. A is changing to y. Жена, жены. And again, we got floating emphasis. Жена, жены. For you to know, if we got yo in the word, the emphasis falls always on yo. And it is difficult here because ye changes to yo and a for y. However, just to know that this pattern exists helps you to remember how to establish the plural. And also, let's make for feminine word, for feminine personal name, Оля. Оля is the name of a short form of Olga. Оля. How would we say plural? Many Olas. So, several Olas. Оли. Оли. Ya is changing to I. So, feminine ending in ya changes to I. Example would be Tanya, Tatiana. So the short form of Tatiana is Tanya. Tanya. What would be the plural of Tanya? Again, we got feminine name. It is alive. It's a woman. It is feminine. Ends in ya. Let's use this Oля pattern. It will become Tani. Tani. We change ya for I. And you can only start doing this not by learning this rule, only by having many examples, writing a lot and exercising a lot. And another pattern, нога, ноги. Нога is leg. Нога, нога. Emphasis falls on a because o is not emphasized. In one word we only have one emphasis always. Нога. And because o is not emphasized, it's pronounced as a. Нога. But ноги. Ноги. With the emphasis on o, the plural. A is changing to I. Ноги. Нога. Нога. Ноги. Can you hear? Here I'm pronouncing o as a and here as o. You cannot know that the emphasis is flowing. If you make a mistake in emphasis and read o as o in both cases, everybody will understand you. Let's use this pattern. Рука. Рука is hand. Рука. Рука. Рука is hand. It is alive, so it's a part of the body. It ends in a. Which pattern would you use? Surely the same. Нога, ноги, рука, руки. Руки. So hand, hands. A is changing to I. Рука, руки. And again here we got floating emphasis. Рука, руки. And we cannot know it. So it's an exception. Another exception. Quite frequent exception. Окно, окна, also floating emphasis, an exception. Адрес, адреса, floating emphasis. Город, города, city, cities. And the last one I will give you, подруга. Подруга means a friend, a woman friend or female friend. Nothing sexual, just a friend who is female. Подруга. По-д-ру-га. Подруга. What would be the pattern for подруга? Подруга is definitely alive. We need to take the second set of nouns. It ends in a. Подруга. And here we got рука and нога ending in a. Подруга ends in a. So the plural is подруги. По-д-ру-ги. Подруга, подруги. What kind of mistake could have we done here? So подруга ends in a, it's feminine, it's alive. Сестра, it's also feminine, alive, and it ends in a. Жена is feminine, alive, ends in a. Why wouldn't we put here? Подруги would also sound fine for a foreigner. Well, we have to know this. You cannot really know this. You have to know this word. And that's why I'm telling you the exercises and routine is more important than to know all of the endings here. What is happening with the endings. The pattern is important, and it is important that you saw this table. However, exercise, and you will be able to establish the plural. In the next lesson, we'll actually exercise the plural of nouns.